go.
Ready.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Combat Podcast. It is Hollywood Matt Connolly with the double bicep. It is in the contract. It is a legal requirement. Every single time that I appear on camera, we are just covering our legal bases. If you'd like your contract emailed to you, send us a letter. We'll send it out to you. All right, our co-host, co-pilot, co-founder of the Daily Combat Podcast, the winner of the Dave Stockbridge of the Year Award, apart from the early 90s when you did get pipped by Vince Cosimo and Vince Ronaldo. A good year, couple of years for Vince's. But you did pick up the Hair Machine of the Year Award.
Hair Machine.
That did make up for it. It's the Master of Disaster, the Thunder Lips, Ultimate Male, Count of Monte Cristo. It is, in fact, Dave Stockbridge. And our special guest today is somebody who's been involved in the fitness industry for decades, has a wealth of experience, has been running her own gym for a long period of time, very successful in the fitness industry, is currently the head judge for the ICN Natural Bodybuilding competition in South Australia. It is, in fact, Esther Pedistic.
Yay! Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome. Hey.
Wow, this is pretty cool. I sound great there.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to take you everywhere with me.
Just opens doors, starts the announcement. Yeah.
Presenting the amazing.
As long as I don't have to flex, that's all.
It's definitely not something that I made up and started doing by myself. Yeah, it's in the contract. Absolutely. Yeah. So as we were saying, you've been running Olympic muscle and fitness for, what has it been, like
It's
20 years or something?
just 20 years. I think it'll be 21 coming up, yeah.
Wow.
I lost count after 20.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I trained there, obviously, I was there for 4 years. Well, a while
It
ago.
was a bit longer than 4 years.
Yeah. Good gym, good culture. And that was one of the things that really stood out to me, was that everyone that was there was interested in training and very friendly, and you really promoted that sort of aspect of it, that people were, there to be welcomed. And it's like, there was like an underground wealth of knowledge for the bodybuilding scene.
Of course.
That was not known anywhere else, really, because it is sort of a niche sport. And, in that era, and even, 20 years ago, it was not as well known as it is now. And there was definitely not many women, especially if they were competing
100%.
or interested in the actual aspect or the sport aspect of weightlifting. And now it has exploded, especially in the last probably 5 years. You've seen this enormous growth in, I would say, mostly like the women's divisions have come up huge. You've got your bikini, your figure, your fitness.
Yeah.
There's so many different divisions that are popping up, and evening stuff.
Anywhere, angels.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. It's definitely, the boys have grown a little bit as well, because we've got the men's physique class and we've got the fitness class as well. But bodybuilding, I think, just dropped off a little bit.
I just go with the microphone. If you just move it like nice and close to your mouth, yeah, perfect. Because it just drop it off a little bit. But so as you said, they've added the extra classes in for the men for the classic physiques, and there's fitness, and then there's
Men's physique as well.
Yeah, what's the difference there?
Shorts.
Okay.
Yeah,
Shorts.
I think it is. I think you're right.
Pretty much. And slightly different posing. So for a fitness guy, it's meant to be a bit more like a beach body. Someone who looks good on the beach. Muscle, quite lean, nice defined abs. And then the men's physique is probably a little bit bigger in between the fitness and the bodybuilding. And they wear the shorts. And then obviously the bodybuilding. And the difference with classic physique is that anyone or any male can enter classic physique, but just the posing is very different, very that old artistic classic Frank Zane kind of posing.
More based on aesthetics as opposed to
And they really want that tiny waist.
And what was your first introduction to the world of weights and gyms?
That goes back way back in. I went to the gym, and when I left school, my mum took me to the gym and got me a 3-month membership, because obviously.
What was her motivation in doing that?
She just did it for fitness, and she actually went to a gym. It was a gym, not just group fitness classes. It was actually a little small gym. And
like an old school gymnasium where there was, some dusty weights in the corner.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And the man who ran it was, funny enough, a marathon runner.
Huh.
And he was probably a bit like me, just really old school, just loved it. And he just showed me a magazine. because back in the day it wasn't Instagram, it was magazines.
Yeah.
And it had old school bodybuilders like Rachel McLeish, which was the first Miss Olympia, Corey Everson and all that. I go, wow, I want to do that.
Wow. So it was immediately laying eyes on the aesthetic of these old school classics, physiques that got your fire going for weights.
And then I just kept buying all the magazines. Did they even have magazines anymore?
I don't know. I know Flex is still around.
Yeah.
Is Flex still going?
I don't know. I think it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really?
maybe just hanging on.
Because I used to get Muscle and Fitness and Shape.
Yeah.
And then I left that gym and trained at Paramount for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went to a gym in the city because the lady who owned this, it was a female-only gym. Her name was Irene Nicole, and she was one of Australia's top bodybuilders at that time. Kind of aligned myself with her so I could learn about the sport. And then
So how old were you when you first started doing weights? Or the
I was
first time
15.
you went?
15.
Wow.
That's really young, male or female, to be really getting
Yeah.
into the iron game.
These days it's getting to be a bit more norm. But back in that day, absolutely. Yeah, pretty well unheard of.
But you weren't going there to kind of get an Instagram butt or anything, you know. But you were going there to lift weights. Like this is the difference. You were going there to kind of.
Absolutely.
You were looking at the magazine, thinking, "How do I get muscles like that?"
100%.
Which is would have been unusual. And how, as you're explaining this to your friends, like what's the reaction to people around you as you start saying, you know what, I'm going to look like that chick over there.
They probably all thought I was a bit crazy.
Yeah. and how do you remember how people were reacting and how that was making you feel at the time to this newfound desire to be this muscular woman?
I guess because I kind of always around gyms, it was kind of not as frowned upon.
Okay.
But
So your world was very much the gym. Once you'd locked in at 15,
Yeah.
like that became your
a
world.
world.
So you're in this accepted safe space where you know people want you to get massive as well.
The only difference was most females back then would have been doing group fitness. There
Yeah,
wasn't a lot in the gym. They would have been, and look, to be honest, I did group fitness as well. I wore the leg warmers.
Oh, nice.
I wore
I
the
always
Fiesta
liked
tights.
I like the leotard on the outside of the
100%.
sports shorts.
Yeah, I still wear that now, just underneath clothes, so just so I can feel
It's
it.
so good.
Yeah.
That was I still don't understand that.
Well,
Why,
you know
why would
what?
you do that?
But your butt looked really good doing that.
Ah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
you
it
had
was a
the
secret.
G-string on top and it made your butt look
They
good.
were very
there you
much the
go.
early days of Lycra being applied to,
Yeah.
to fashion.
I
And
still think it's funny though. Like if you see videos from back then, you're like, "What are you doing?"
but it does make you it instantly you look more like a superhero,
Right.
You know that's the
Yeah.
thing. You
Pants
just
on the
don't have your own
outside.
logo.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
if you've got your pants on the outside and a logo, you're a superhero. Without logo, you're just a gym junkie.
Did you ever have one of those Hypercolour T-shirts that would change?
I couldn't
colour?
afford one.
I always wanted one, and I remember being at Marion, and a guy that was walking in front of me had one, and I was like, "Oh, they're doing it with the shirts." Never had one.
I remember the moment in 1986 where I was on a bus and a kid walked on, and you only knew because it was hot,
Right.
And he was sweating, and so that was the colour change
Yeah.
in the shirt. And I
Yeah.
said, "Wow, that's technology."
It was so
Yeah,
cool.
We're gonna
Where are those shirts?
We are
Why
gonna
have
be,
they not
We're going
come
to be
into-
flying in cars soon because now shirts can decide their own colour depending on how warm.
I
you
want to
are.
bring them back. I wonder if they still got them. I'm surprised I haven't seen them for a long
They'd
time.
be out there as a nostalgia buyer. You'd be able to buy it.
I
yeah.
reckon on the internet you'd be able to find it
Yeah,
somewhere.
I think they come free with cans of RC Cola. So,
And Dr. Pepper.
so you've started this whole journey really young at 15, 16, and so and as a young woman you're growing as well, and you're putting on muscle and stuff, and entering your adult world as a muscular woman at a time where there wouldn't have been too many muscular women, young
Not
women in
many
particular,
around.
walking around.
Not at all. Not at all.
And did you feel like you were different?
Look, I'm always thinking I would be different. Let's be honest.
It wasn't the muscles. It was
wasn't the muscles, it was everything else. Yeah, no, like I said, I just was pretty determined, and I don't. Not to say that I don't really care about what people think, but I've been really lucky and fortunate. People around me always understood
Really
and
supportive.
really supportive and accepting of what I did. Maybe didn't always agree with it. But yeah, most of my friends and my friends support, and even my work people were always really, really supportive and kind of knew. I mean, I competed for nearly 20 years actually. So I started off I did 2 bodybuilding shows, and then I went and did competitive aerobics for many years. So that was a bit of a flip. Then I came back and did the Miss Fitness comps, which was kind of running the bodybuilding competition, but it was a mishmash. So you had an aerobic dance routine as well as your bikini round, and then you had to do a.
That would have been the one for you.
That was the one I was doing.
Well, and it would have been good for you because you got to do a speech on your philosophy on fitness. So it was a bit like Miss World.
Wow. There you go.
Wow, what you lost on the bikini round, you would have made up on the speech. It would have been good. Yeah,
and I did that for a few years, and then that actually scared a lot of competitors off because a lot of ex-gymnasts and ex-aerobic we were lucky in Australia, we had a few world aerobic champions and they competed in that sport. So everyone goes, "Ooh, I'm not going against them, ooh, freak out." So then they kind of broke it up, and now which has created the fitness and the sports model, which we have now with the girls. And then I went back to bodybuilding, and I did that 5 years, and then I competed at international level, came 5th in the world, and I thought, time to go.
that was the swan song.
That was, well, I turned 40 at that time, so I'm just there, like, that'll be it. Like, and I really gave 120% to that show, and I just didn't know if I had anything else to give.
Yeah, so you felt like you left it all out on the stage that night.
Well, it was kind of like I actually qualified to go to Greece the next year because I finished top 5, qualified an automatic qualification for the next year, and I thought, do I risk it? I could come last. At least I finished 5th.
That's
I
amazing.
could have got better, but you just never know.
Yeah.
That was in figure, the women's figure? Yeah.
And it's quite funny because now I look at my physique and I probably would be more of a fitness model than a figure girl because even like the sport's just progressed.
Yeah.
It has changed a lot. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because you're running your stage 1 posing classes now as well at Olympic. People that are looking at competing, you're sort of directing, and it's like, you are from the head judge position. It's like, well, I am the one who's going to be judging you. So this is how you need to pose for these particular types of divisions if you're going to enter this. But is it, you've had people that have turned up and that maybe they say, I don't know which one I should enter? And
yeah, a lot. We get that a lot. And sometimes it's really hard because especially I'll say the girls, they have the heart setting on a particular category and go, oh, you're not really suited, you're more to that category. Oh, but we want to do this category. And yeah, sort of, and I said, well, it's up to you, but let the cards fall on the day.
yeah,
If you want to, and I think that's the one thing that I think people either need to decide if they want to, if they've got their heart dead set on competing on that particular category, will then keep training towards and that look for that category rather than getting upset. Because I look at it this way, do you want to spend all day and compete? Well, we had a perfect example. 3 or 4 years ago, we had a girl that wanted to do bikini and she was a figure athlete and she fought us on it. We talked her into doing it and she ended up winning figure overall. So she had a great day.
right.
Or she could have had a really bad day.
Did she
and
thank
competed.
you in the acceptance speech?
Well, I think she should have. But that's how different,
And is that just a matter of being objective enough to be able to look at somebody and say, well, you know what, these are your attributes, these are your gifts, this is the category you're best fit for, where your physiology is a better fit for that. That's where you will enjoy more success. And why do you think people can't see that in themselves as subjectively? Do you think they see a picture of somebody else and think that's where I'm goal orientated towards? I want to look like
I think
that
some
person?
of it's they don't really look at themselves quite objectively. They either think they're better than what they are or they don't think they're quite as good as what they are. I think there's that kind of that objective. They're not really, and also too, I mean, I'm really looking at it from a judge's point of view.
Yes.
That'll be a big difference. I think a lot of the time people compare themselves to who they see on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I even had a girl argue with me the other couple of seasons ago about posing, and she wanted to pose this way, and I go, that's okay for Instagram, but not on stage. It's very different. So I think there's part of that. They'll go, oh, we saw so-and-so and we're not as good as them.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, but people, what they post, they're always going to post their best pictures, right?
Right, yeah.
They're going to wait till they get that right angle, but when they're on stage, you don't have that opportunity to go, hang on, I just want to stand in the right angle for me to judge you. Just, you're very out in front of everyone, very exposed is probably the word I'm using.
So when you started at such a young age, did you know straight away right there and then that you were going to be competing at some point? And how long before you did eventually compete?
Like I said, my first comp would have been 22.
You were 22. So you had a reasonably long preparation, so really good foundation.
Yeah.
And and what led you to finally dip your toe in the water at 22 and not do it any sooner? Because these days, a lot of young people, they start something 6 months later, they want to be the best in the world and, and whatnot.
That's all it takes, 6 months.
You know,
If only.
Yeah.
And then they get disappointed with the result they get.
Right.
We didn't get our pro card.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
What's
that's
going
right.
on? This is rigged.
Rigged. Bloody judges. How many times have I heard that?
I look great on Instagram. The filters make the majority.
You get a real life filter.
I guess back in that day too, you coached yourself.
Yeah.
So we didn't have coaches and stuff. So a lot of it was a learning experience for you to see how you could. And, you know, I did align myself with Irene, but, you know, back in the day, they wouldn't give you information. They wouldn't want to give competitors information, whereas this day, you just go, hey, pay me and I'll tell you what you want to know.
Yeah.
You know, it's a completely different ball game.
Yeah, yeah. So it was really hard to get some of that lowdown, that great information about how to prepare, how to diet, how to dehydrate and then rehydrate, and how to do all of those things safely. And so that was really trial and error for a period
100%.
of time as you were going through all of that, even with some world-class mentors around. And so how did those early competitions go for you?
Look, I can't remember that far ago. I mean, I wouldn't have won. I didn't probably win until I probably got seconds and thirds.
Yeah.
But like I said, the standard was completely different to what it is now.
It was much, much higher back then.
Of course.
Yes. No, so hence the second and thirds.
Well, here's even a funny thing, supplements.
Yeah.
Like back in my day, supplements, protein powder.
There was Mega Mass 2000, and then they came out with 3000, and which you just went and got because there was an extra 1,000 of something in there.
That's right.
Calories, I think.
Yes. Sugar.
Sugar.
And then the big thing was creatine, Metacell.
Yeah.
Metacell. That was the product of the day, you know.
Yeah.
So whereas now it's just like take this.
Oh, there's
this,
so
this.
many.
I mean, the list is this long, isn't it?
Most people don't know what they do as well. Like I get people where I'm working at the moment, they'll come up to the counter with
I need a cell volumizer.
Yeah, or nitric oxide, something or another. This, you know, and they'll say just with creatine. I'll put creatine down. Oh, do you know what creatine does? No.
Yeah.
Why are you buying it? Oh, somebody
I need a stack for my pre-workout.
Well, talking of coaches and supplements, there was a
I need
girl.
branch chains and free forms.
Yeah, that's right.
Before, one for after.
Yeah, that's
so you
right.
know anything.
A girl went into a shop to buy some protein powder because her coach had told her to get this particular protein powder and chocolate.
Right.
And when she went in there, she saw that there was, just say for argument's sake, cookies and cream. And she goes, oh, no, I better get chocolate. My coach told me to get chocolate. And the salesperson said, but it's exactly the same.
Yeah, it's just the flavour.
And she thought about it. No, I better get the
No,
chocolate.
I'm getting chocolate. Yeah, that's right. I'm not going back. I'm not going back with cookies and cream.
Yeah, because it does come down to that point. Like if your coach is telling you, hey, you need to do 10 sets of this or that, or you need to do 20 minutes on this and here and that. And it's like, okay, if I do all those things and then they say, go get the chocolate powder and you get the other one, it's like, oh, hang on. Like, are you listening to what I'm saying?
Mr. Miyagi thing, you don't know if it's a test.
It's like, oh,
You might not do anything
are you
different.
not doing all the other things that I also said to do?
Exactly. Yeah, you waxing off and waxing off, or waxing on and waxing off.
right.
What's going on here?
That's right.
Exactly. So this is really interesting. So you kept at the sport even though you weren't necessarily enjoying, you know, immediate success. And by the time you had your first win, you've almost been training there for 10 years by that stage.
Well, trust me, I actually cried on stage when I got my first, which was my last. I competed at States. I got 4 seconds in a row. And when I got my fifth, I actually broke down and cried on stage. And
your
I am
fifth
not
second?
a crier.
Fifth second in a row?
It was 4 seconds in a row.
4 seconds in a row.
Wow.
So when I got my final, my first, I just broke down on stage and I was a mess.
Did you
because
trip the other girl over or something? How did that come about? So you kept going back. So you had 4 seconds and then
my first.
your
and
first
then
win.
Went to nationals and got third. I went to nationals every year. Every year I went to nationals just because I think it's a really great experience.
Get on the big stage and see how
100%.
you
And
fit.
it's like anything, you know, if you compete at SANFL and go to AFL, it's a big jump.
You see that? Yeah.
That's the same thing with, you know, nationals. It's just a great experience to go over there and just sort of see where you're at.
Yeah.
You know, you can win a state title here and come fifth at nationals.
Yeah.
That's right. Especially if you've done all that
Never
dieting.
happened to me, but
all the dieting and everything, and you've gotten into stage condition for the state titles, and it's like, well, the nationals is next week. And it's like, oh, I'm not going to do it. It's like, but you're already here. Like, you've got one more week. Like, we might as well do it.
Yeah.
Just don't eat for another week.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
Well, I've even had it where the girls that beat me here, I've beat at nationals 3 weeks later because I might have looked better, they might have looked worse.
Yeah.
Different judges standing next to different people can make you look better or worse.
Exactly, yeah.
Bring out faults, things like that.
Yeah, different lighting, different stage.
100%.
And what were your strengths as a bodybuilder? Did you have certain body parts like Hollywood over here?
No, actually, I've got 2 long levers, so my bicep peaks were never that great. I would say probably my midsection used to be pretty good, and probably my back. That was probably my thing, and I always had to work on my legs. And back in our day, we used to wear G-strings, so we couldn't really hide anything like they can these days.
Yeah.
Thank God they don't do that anymore.
So the figure competition, it's basically, it's almost swimwear in a way. The costume that they're wearing in figure.
The figure is the bodybuilder. No, there's still the bikini.
Right.
But it's just a G-string back when I competed.
Yeah.
And then about 2 years after that, they went more to the fuller briefs.
Okay, yeah. And then...
Soon it's just going to be like big nana pants. So that's the innovation for 2022. They'll be tan and they'll be right across the bum and a little bit droopy. Just a little bit of room. Just a little bit droopy.
A sag.
Yeah, new for 2022. So, yeah, Arnold Classics.
And
keep an eye out.
a new category.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Nana pants category. Yeah.
Well, they did change for the men's classic. They've gone with the classic shorts, like the smaller brief almost in a way. And then you've got, as you said before, is it fitness with the board shorts?
Physique with the board shorts, yeah.
Or physique with board shorts, yeah. Is it men's fitness as well?
Men's fitness, they wear like the same for that classic physique.
Oh,
wear.
okay, right, yeah. And then bodybuilding is
trunks.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So, what did you think when, say, Irene Adler was winning Miss Olympia? She won it, I think, 8 years in a row, 9 years in a row or something. Or maybe it was more than that. It might have been more. It might have been 10. I don't know.
Yeah.
But with women's bodybuilding, that was the open, and she was the champion, and no one was ever going to beat her. She was unstoppable. She was head and shoulders above everyone. And it almost, in a way, because they've eliminated that division now.
Destroyed the category.
Yeah, in a way, because it's like...
I think it's a combination of things, though. I think, she obviously had her big run, but I think it's the size.
Yeah.
I think, it's like even with men's bodybuilding, I mean, Arnold make his big speech, with the men with the big guts and they don't look aesthetically pleasing. And I think it's a bit with the girls too. I mean, how many girls really want to grow up and look like her?
Exactly.
I think it's that attainable thing. And I think that's why with bodybuilding as such, the men's physique and the classic physique is taking off because it's not that. It's more achievable.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of like if you've trained for a long period of time and you discipline and everything, this is a category that you could do well in. Whereas if you're looking at open bodybuilding, it's like, well, unless you're genetically gifted, now no matter how hard you're going to train, you're never going to look anywhere near that. Even with the supplementation that could go along with it, it's like, well, these people are they're not freaks, but like they're a fraction of a % of the population that have this ability to get that much muscle. And if you're looking at it going, oh, I want to be like that, it's like you're probably never going to get there.
It's really interesting because you're dealing with that aesthetic of humanity, and so what you're looking for, like just generally speaking, is beauty is the average, not the exception. And by that, if you've got an average nose, an average ears, average eye separation, average head size, then you're probably going to be attractive. But if you've got a giant nose and giant pointy ears and a weird droopy mouth, well, you know what, you're probably not.
Why are you staring at me when you said that?
I was looking at Tito actually, but you're probably not, and because with arm wrestling, with bodybuilding, you've got this aesthetic that there's so many competing views as to what the optimal physique is, and then you've got this mainstream view and people that want and seek a physique that may be attainable for the average person. And but bodybuilding was never really about that. It was always about finding the outlier and the freak and the person that was pushing the boundaries. And there's as a spectator of the sport, I love that aspect of it because for me that's the Formula 1 of bodybuilding is seeing a big Rami or you know, these guys, these mass monsters on stage. That's the Formula One. You know, I can enjoy driving my little Honda around the city. It doesn't, and I can love it, but I'm not going to be Lewis Hamilton. You know, but people seemingly go, oh, that's terrible because I can't associate with being that big, and they can't see it from. Okay, that's the pinnacle. And very fortunately, we've got these other levels of the sport now that are growing in popularity for that reason, that the physiques may be more attainable. Not really.
No, you're still ridiculously hard.
Yeah, just to suit a particular genetic disposition that some people might think, oh, well, that might, I could maybe, if I suck my tummy in, I could maybe look a little bit more like that guy. And so it's opening those doors now where, and maybe better for the sport now that there's these other options that have now been presented to ordinary people that
absolutely.
are just kicking around a gym.
That's a good point.
I think the main thing people need to remember is it's not a one-time sport, and I think that's what the difference, one big difference between when I competed to now is that, you know, I think it's only like 5% of bikini girls come back and do another show after their first show. Now, that's a pretty low number, and I'd love to do a survey and say why, just as a matter of interest. I know like lots of people do it just because they've turned 40, it's a bucket list, you know, and that's okay to have that as a why, but then you can't, I feel, you probably shouldn't be disappointed with the result then, because no one's ever going to get, unless like you said, you're a genetic freak, you're never going to get it right the first time.
Exactly.
So I would really love to see more people do it again, at least 2 or 3 times. I think you need to.
Why do you think people don't come back?
I think it's a lot of reasons. I think they don't really understand I guess that's the difference between me coaching myself. I went to like heaps of shows before I even stepped up on stage. A lot of people I see have never been to a show. That's the first mistake, I think. I think they don't really understand what they're getting themselves in for and how hard it is going to be. I think that's probably one thing. It is pretty extreme. No lies about it. And the people around you, your friends and your family, don't generally understand what you're doing. So that makes it quite hard as well. And I think that's just like lack of understanding, lack of awareness. And then they get out of it and they may not have had the result that they wanted. And then it's disappointment. And then putting the weight back on, which is a normal. I did a training camp with Jen Hendershot. Now, she was a Miss Olympia several years ago, and she had in her wardrobe her normal clothes, her mid-comp clothes, and her comp clothes. And she said she always had the aim that she would just sort of sit on that mid-range, but she just ended up going back to it because it's just I think your body has a comfortable spot where it wants to sit. And, you know, it's just part of competing, but a lot of people have a lot of trouble accepting that after comp prep.
So when you finally broke through and you won on that 5th occasion, did you go back again after that? Did you try to
retired? That was about my 20th year. That was it.
Enough. Got it.
Took me 20 years to get there.
Wow.
But you won in there. That's what's so amazing is that you didn't give up and you went through and got
the
there.
real story of persistence.
I came close that last year because we only had season B. In my time, there was only that one season.
October,
And, and it came about the time where I usually would start prepping, and my mum said to me, are you competing this season? And I'm just going, I don't know. Because I just had enough. 4 seconds, I was just going, like, is this ever going to happen kind of thing? And she said, oh, why aren't you going to do it? Is it because of all the seconds? I'm going, yep, I'm just don't know if I got enough to give. And she said, you can't retire or never compete again on that. You need to at least give it one more shot. So lucky I listened to her. It paid off. But
were you coming second to the same athlete, or was it?
2 of them were.
Yeah. So there was like the 3 of you that it could have gone down to either of you on the day, and then 5th time around you made it your day.
That's it.
And how did that feel?
Oh, like I said, I was just. I can't even describe it.
How did Mum feel?
Oh, if you listen to her on the video, she's going, "Oh, that's my girl, that's my girl." Stop freaking.
Terrific. And then, and did you have it in your mind that if you did win, you were going to retire, and if you didn't win, or if you came second, would you have come back?
I don't
another
know.
year?
I don't know, because my main aim was to get to nationals and then to get to the worlds, which was so I just sort of thought the next ahead, and then once I got to the worlds and came 5th. I think that's where I made my decision and just go, look, I think I need to sit on it, but I think enough's enough for now.
Yeah.
I thought I'd take a year off, but then I got into judging, and
So you tried to get away from the sport, but like the mafia of the sport, just pulled you back in.
No, but I thought it was like a really good opportunity to kind of give back a bit as well.
Yeah.
And even like judging, I'm trainee judges. I know they love judging because it just gives them a different understanding of how it is from where we sit. You know, people sit in the audience and they're going, oh, la, 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 and, or people even on stage, I was standing next to this guy and he did this and he looked like that or whatever. But when you're sitting on the judging table, very different. You are under a lot of pressure because we've got a time, we're on time, we need to keep moving. So it's a very different ball game being on that judging table and having eyes at the back of your head.
And interestingly, like, so you've had that experience of being an athlete, and like when it comes to first, second, and third in a lot of bodybuilding competitions, it's only a matter of points. There's not a lot in it often. And as you revisit, say, some of those years where you did come second, have you rejudged them yourself?
Yes.
And how would you have the scores the same as
five firsts?
Not quite.
What I'm trying to get to, were you robbed?
Let's say the one definitely should have been, she deserved to win, and she ended up being national champion that year. So,
all right, we'll give that one. She can have that one.
2 out of the other 3, I would say
questionable,
tossed up, and 1 I think I should have won.
Okay, so the judges might have got it. So that's interesting.
Look, it's just how it is on the day, right?
Yeah.
And like when you're watching a video, you've got the time to watch the video and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and probably a little bit of a vested interest just to spend a little bit of time on that video.
But you know what?
Freeze frame.
But interesting that you did go back, because there's a lot of performers that say, I'll never watch my performance. I never go back to it once it's done.
I don't like watching my video at all. I hate it. I hate it. But
what made you revisit it? Was it out of a curiosity? Can I look at myself objectively?
I think
how do I judge myself?
Yeah, I think once I started judging, I kind of just went, I'm going to look at this and see how it is, because obviously when you're emotional and you're annoyed about a situation, you're just going, and you get all these people going, you should have won, and all this stuff, and you kind of get wrapped up in the moment and the emotion. Then when you go back and look at it with a clear head, you might look at it a bit differently.
Shit, I should have won. Damn it.
Well, back in my day, we didn't have social media that we could bag the judges.
That's right.
There's only one happy person on that stage, and that's the winner.
Yeah, pretty much.
And during that time, so you've transitioned. You had that experience going to the Worlds, and firstly, the Worlds were in Greece that year.
No, they were in Perth.
Oh, sorry, they were in Perth. So how did that feel, being able to walk on that stage? Was it quite a surreal moment after all of those years of preparing? And
yeah, it was
25.
I just stood there and go, I can't even believe that I made it here.
Yeah.
That was pretty, even just to stand on a stage like that, it was 26 weeks of dieting.
Now you were that woman in the magazine all of a sudden.
Pretty much, something like that. But yeah, no, it was, even now I sort of look back and go, all the stuff that I've done, like competition wise and everything like that, and I go, I can't even believe that I actually did it.
And are you driven in the same way you are with bodybuilding, or were with bodybuilding? Is that something that that permeates in other areas of your life, or is it kind of something you've just been able to harness it within the sport?
I think I'm pretty stubborn. I'm a Taurus.
Okay.
So I'm pretty stubborn anyway. But yeah, look, competing does teach you a lot, and some people have bad experience with competing, but I think there's so much that you can learn. I think if you can get through and that's competing in general, whether it's bodybuilding, whether it's tennis, whether it's whatever, you're going to compete at some kind of level. You have to have some kind of discipline. And I think that just teaches you a lot about life, about, time management, about being driven to get what you want to achieve. I just think it just teaches you so much.
Yeah. And in your example, you're able to teach so many people so much as well. Like even just in listening to this podcast, I'm sure people will go, I don't know if I would have gone back a 5th time, if that's 4 times of no, that's 4 times the second, that's 4 times of not good enough. And after 25 years of training almost at that stage, you must have gone, well, how much more can I do?
Yeah.
But
and I
you
think
turned
that
up
was
one
the
more
thing.
time.
That was probably one of the things I thought when I retired. Have I got any more to give? Because I was doing like 3 hours of cardio a day. I was running my business. I was doing this. I was doing that. So teaching 14 classes a week. I was doing group fitness as well, and then doing weights 6 times a week. So I had a lot of pressure on myself, and that was one of probably another defining factor. Have I got any more room to give to be better?
And so and after you retired from competition, how was it that you got into judging? Were you tapped on the shoulder, or was it something that you pursued?
I actually approached Kim Tansker, who runs ICN here in Adelaide, and said, look, I'd love an opportunity to judge. And he goes, cool, put me on the judging table. And then I think I judged about, might have been 2 or 3, maybe even 4 seasons, I can't remember. And the guy who was head judge at the time was going to be competing. So Kim approached me to step up and be head judge. So I was really excited to have that privilege. It's a big privilege. I don't take it for granted. And I think that's one thing that makes me, I think it makes all of us really good judges, is that because we've been on the other side, all the judges have stepped on stage at some point, and we've all been on the other side. So now that we sit back and judge, we do take it very seriously. We understand how much effort everyone has put into competing and being on stage. So we want to give them that great experience as well.
Yeah. Do you have it when a class comes out, like when they walk out, have you almost, like, within the first, say, 20 seconds, you found the winner?
Maybe 30.
Yep. No.
You're like, and you. Yeah, it does feel that way. Like when you can look at a lineup, and with your experience, you could just, almost, I could flash a photo and then you're like, that guy or that girl straight away.
Yeah, look, the longer you do it, obviously, the more experience and a lot easier it is, and you get a lot quicker at it. I've judged at Nationals as well many times now, and Nationals is even quicker. So you do get to really have the eye to pick it up quite quickly.
Have you had it where, like, 2 competitors were so close and it's like, I don't know who to pick?
Well, funny you say that. We were at Nationals in Canberra. I can't even remember when it was, and we had 2 girls going for the overall winner. So it was the short class and the tall class. And every which way we judged the overall, we couldn't split it.
Wow.
We could not split it.
Right.
So in the end, we had to get them to do each quarter turn and go, right, that person won that side, that person won that side, and break it down that much, and break down every individual pose. And in the end, we go, oh, right, 6-4 or whatever it was. And that's how we had to break it. That's the tightest it's ever been. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, for sure. And it does get that way with certain, like, somebody might have better conditioning, but somebody else might, they might have better conditioning but not as much size, and then somebody's got more size, not as good conditioning, or they might have an imbalance between upper and lower body, or left 100%. And right hand side, but it's like, but they're better here, and you're trying to make all those visual identifications like within seconds. It's hitting a pose, 12 people hit a pose at once, and you're trying to see all 12. It can be very difficult.
And also too, you've got to stick to the category as well. So you've got to kind of look at them and go, well, who's got the best category fit? And if no one has the best category fit, well, then you have to go for the best on stage. So you've got to kind of look at those criteria of the category and really hone in on that.
Yeah, so with the categories, so if you said, say, so figure, for what would specifically be for women's figure?
Similar to men's bodybuilding, you've got to have the balance, upper, lower, right, left. With the girls, probably a defining factor for most girls is having tight glutes, because obviously it's harder for girls to have that. I've seen it several times. Girls look amazing from the front, and they turn around and their backs of the legs are all soft and spongy. I must admit, girls are getting better at that though. They're definitely worth doing. Also bridges.
We've got about 8 different butt machines.
But that's also creating a problem again, because now they're building up their glutes and they're creating an imbalance in their symmetry. So it's creating a different problem. And this is where I think, coaches and girls and boys and whoever, they really need to start really assessing their physique and really going, right, do I need to work on my shoulders, or do I need to work on quads, or do I, start really making some strong, especially if you, look, I always say to people, if you just want to look good walking on the beach, do whatever you want. Right. But if you're going to step up in front of me on a stage, make sure you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and it is good that they can come to people like yourself that will give them honest feedback and critical feedback. And
I don't always like it.
Yeah, but that's what's important. Because if somebody is lacking, and if you are able to be in a position where they've come to you and they say, look, how do I look in this pose, or in this category or whatever, and it's like, you give the feedback, and it's like, well, you have weakness here, or you have strength here. You need to work to develop this. This is the thing for you. Whereas as when you were competing, when you were, looking at it, it was like there was none of that. There was
not at all.
You just got on and went, I guess I'm doing the right thing. I don't know. No, there's no posing coach.
Somebody said have golden syrup 15 minutes before going on stage. So exactly. Had a teaspoon of that, and hey.
And there wasn't any posing coaches. We did it from magazines.
Yeah, or watching videos or going to shows previously.
Yeah,
that's how I learned.
Yeah. The people today, they actually do have it quite easy. They don't think they do, but they do.
Right. And I love the fact there's so many more categories and so many, like where I'm working at the moment, obviously in the gym, there's so many people that are constantly, looking at different shows that they're doing, and it's people that you wouldn't think were really into training, into like bodybuilding stuff. And then it's like, oh, well, I'm entering a competition, and it's like in 12 weeks, and they get their diet sorted, and you see their progress over those 12 weeks, and they get grumpier and sadder. And no, they're good. But you see the progress that they're making towards like a goal, and it's like to have that opportunity with the 2 seasons that are available now with ICN. Whereas prior to that, it was one show a year, and it was very underground. It was like no one really knew what it was. No one really knew what a diet plan was. Like you were making it up as you went. You were getting information off the guy who might know something, and it was, Whereas what I liked training with Olympic, the gym that you run, it was that culture. Like those people that were training there were all into that sport. Yeah. Which was rare to find. It was like, oh, this is the place. Everyone here knows about everything. Whereas it was very hard to find that in any other sort of commercial gyms. It was mostly people that were just trying to get a bit fitter and that sort of thing. You wouldn't see like people that were training specifically for a competition. But now it's like, I don't know, maybe maybe 10% of the people that are coming to the gym that where I'm working that are actually training for competitions.
Yeah. And have you ever worked outside of a gym, or is it?
Yeah, I used to work in IT. That was actually my real job.
Okay. So you escaped the IT world to...
Yeah. Well, I always worked part-time in, so I worked in IT full-time, and then I worked part-time as a group fitness and personal, it wasn't even a personal trainer back then. They used to be a gym instructor.
Gym instructor,
fitness instructor, yeah.
So you're really lucky you got a tank top with that title written on it.
I know. And I kind of worked in the fitness industry part-time as well. And then I worked for, am I allowed to say, TAB? Yeah. And our government decided to sell it.
They're now sponsors.
They don't know it yet, but
And so I got a payout, and that's when I bought the gym, because it was always my great desire to own my own gym. And the rest is history.
Wonderful, that's great. And so really, you've transitioned from just being somebody who idolized the physique to somebody who had the physique to somebody who was winning awards to then somebody who's judging, and now training and helping people along that journey. So as they start to get really serious about the sport, you're now one of those go-to people that people can come to and say, hey, what's the master plan? What do I do here? How do you guide me? What category should I be shooting for? What should I be eating? How should I be training? How do I prepare?
I don't actually coach people for prep, because I think that would be probably seen as a massive conflict of interest, especially me and head judge.
When you're judging, and so you wouldn't be providing them with nutritional?
No nutrition, no training. Yep. I just say, right, you need to work on this or do this, and get
bigger shoulders and see me next week.
Yeah. Just because it's such a conflict of interest being head judge. I mean, I'm sure people get a bit annoyed at me even helping as many people as I do with posing, really. But, I don't control the diet and the prep. That's the coach. I only get them and put them in different moves and shapes.
And so what are the things that athletes are getting wrong with posing? What's the thing that
where do I start?
So what's this commonality where people get it wrong?
Boys are the worst.
Yeah, so the boys come, they've got one pose, it's a double bicep, or it's a most muscular.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you need.
Yeah,
the whole competition is based on that.
I found this is the one for me. The most muscular.
Funny enough, I was just watching on YouTube today a video of some of the men's bodybuilding from the nationals, and they're doing their symmetry pose, and they're leaning forward. They're doing the whole Michael Jackson smooth criminal. And I'm just going, cringe. But it's really quite funny. I judged at nationals.
It's criminal. It's a move. It's the smooth criminal. This is the smooth criminal. Smooth
criminal round, ladies
gentlemen,
and strike.
The two in the middle. Smooth criminal. Okay, move on. Number 5, moonwalk.
Number 5.
Righto.
Billie Jean.
Bit of Billie Jean. But the funny thing is, guys are generally the worst. But we were in Nationals 2019, and I was sitting between two judges from New South Wales. One's a posing coach and one's not. And I said to the one who's not, I said, is that person annoying you? Because it's annoying me because they were posing so badly.
Yeah.
And she goes, nah. And then I said to the other girl, who is a posing coach in New South Wales, she says, oh my God, it's annoying. So I guess it just depends.
And what's one of those little annoying things that you see people do that you just think, if you'd just be better if you didn't?
One of the most annoying poses is lat spreads, where the guys put their hands up like this, as if they're riding their Harleys, instead of holding their arms down.
I've never seen that. That's hilarious.
Because they can't get their lats out like this, so they bring their arms up higher.
Right. Oh, so yeah.
Yeah.
I just walk around like
Yeah.
that's
Nightclub walk, I think.
ILS, imaginary lat syndrome.
That's right.
It affects 1 in 3 gym bros.
See your doctor for advice.
Yeah, that's right. No. See a gym bro.
Yeah. It is funny though when people do try to disguise things in posing like you can't see it, like as if you're like, I can see you.
You're in a G-string.
You're
I
in
see
front
everything
of me right now. Yeah. This isn't my first go around here.
And I think that's the most annoying. I probably get even more frustrated now because there is so much help out there that you should be able to get your posing right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had a guy come to me last season, 3 weeks before the show. So that's your first mistake. And then he goes, oh, but I'm only competing in novice, so it doesn't matter. And I'm going, I think he felt because he wasn't competing in novice that his posing could be of a novice standard. Right. And I'm going, doesn't quite work that way. So, there's just, and that's again lack of education.
And is that almost like they're willing to put in all the work? They do all like they've built up the muscle over years. They then go through that whole process of dieting and preparation and all the nutrition and everything they need to do to optimize for that moment. And then they turn up and they've got the Harley going and the smooth criminal.
No chance.
And you think, why?
I hope somebody smooth criminal leans in the next show.
I want it to become a legitimate move now. I want to see it sanctioned, compulsory
I was
pose.
going to say, get Kim in next week and ask him.
That'd be great. That'd be awesome. You see all these people in the gym training it. Like,
Yeah.
I need to get my ankle flexibility going. I'm training ankles today. That's great. Yeah. So with the posing, and obviously all the categories have different styles of posing.
Yeah.
And which would you say is people seem to find the hardest to pick up? Because when the bikini stuff first sort of became popular, that walk. That walk they do and the constant wiggling with their hands and waving and this and that, and I'm like, stop.
We've
Who wrote
toned
that book?
down. We have toned that down.
Right.
The arms.
Yeah.
Yes, the walk is still, but
They're jazz hands. That's what they are.
Very expressive.
Yeah.
Telling a story as
Yeah.
they're walking.
through wrist and digit move.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
one of the reasons why they do that walk is because they don't want their legs to wobble.
Right.
But it is annoying. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. But of all the categories and poses, would you say that people find the hardest to sort of pick up, or that is most
I think
difficult?
it's just a general, I think it's up to you. Some people are more coordinated, so they're going to pick up posing a lot quicker. I think, like you said, boys probably have at least done a double bicep in their life at least once, let's be honest.
Some more.
Never.
Some.
I've never done it.
But I think with the newer categories, your angles have to be a little bit more, like with bodybuilding, it's just front on, bicep, lats, chest. It's I wouldn't say it's simple, but it's basic. I'll give you a lesson after.
My NASA Elson buddy was.
Yeah.
But it's a bit more. It's not. There's not all the fluffy bits in between. It's very rigid, and I've even done that sometimes where I've had a girl that comes to me that is somewhere between fitness and figure. I'll do the posing. I'll teach her a couple fitness poses and a couple figure poses, and whichever way she does is better, I'll go, right, yeah, you should do that.
That's what, because you're naturally, your movements.
You move more naturally on that way or that way. So if they're in the middle. Things like that, you can always use little tools like that to help decide. Because you'll find generally, especially with the girls, they're kind of always in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. So the categories for women is also bikini, figure, fitness.
That's it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and I mean, I think IFBB has physique as well. We don't have. I mean, we do have as a class, but we don't have very many people doing it. So not at a state level, anyway.
Yeah. What sort of physique are you looking for? Let's say for the bikini, and then so for each category, what sort of, if somebody is looking at competing and they're like, what sort of physique would I have for which category?
Okay. Well, for bikini, it's sort of a bit more of, I'm going to say a Kim Kardashian kind of look, but obviously more toned, not as big on the glutes, but that softer look, a bit, but you want to look like you've trained.
Yeah.
Like bikini now to 5 years ago has changed so much again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What was it? What is it now?
It was a lot softer, whereas it's got a bit more muscular now.
Right.
And then the fitness is a bit more muscle and obviously leaner, six-pack displayed, and then figure is more muscular and leaner again.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody who's looking at training and then it's like, well, I'm not sure which category I would sort of fit. You'd need to either look at previous competition history and say, well, which one do I lean to, or go to a posing coach like yourself.
Yeah. Or even, like I said, if you're hell-bent, like if you really want to be a bikini girl, train like a bikini girl. Don't train like a figure girl. Don't do power moves. And, I think people sometimes get lost on training. Like, I mean, if you're a footballer, you don't swim in a pool.
Right.
Yeah.
You kick the ball, you do strength work that's related to the game, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's where people are losing sight of when they train for a competition. They're not going, right, I want to do bikini, so I'm going to train like a bikini girl, not like a figure girl or like a power lifter or, things like that.
So who are the exciting up-and-coming athletes here in Australia right now that you've got your eye on?
I don't really have my own anyway.
No? Or that you get excited to see come on stage to see how they're progressing? Or
I don't really know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I just kind of...
No one's exciting the head judge, so...
I know, step up.
room.
Somebody
step up.
Come on, guys.
Make an impact, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly.
This is your opportunity. Well, who won the overall national title?
National title?
Yeah, for last year maybe.
Well, we just had a state show, national title show here recently,
Oh.
and there was in Sydney. Sorry, there was a girl who competed in fitness. I can't even think of her name, but she was pretty amazing. Yeah, she was from Queensland, and there was a girl who did figure. Like, I don't even know half these people's names. I think her name was Katie. She was from Queensland as well. Amazing figure athlete. Amazing. She looked phenomenal.
So even now, you'll get athletes get on the stage and you'll just... Wow, they'll blow you away.
100%.
That's incredible. Yeah, because especially when you've seen it all and been around the sports for so long, to still, to be in awe of what you see on stage just kind of shows how the sport continues to progress and the athletes surprise.
Yeah.
What about for the men's categories? Like, what would you say physique-wise for each? So you've got open, obviously the bodybuilding side of it. Then you've got fitness.
Men's physique. Classic, yeah. So similar to the girls, I'd say fitness is kind of like the bikini. Men's fitness is kind of like that, male body, muscle, like a beach body kind of look, quite lean. And then you've got the men's physique, which is kind of like if you want to step up to bodybuilding, but you don't quite have the legs.
Okay.
Cover them up.
Right.
Yeah.
And then also too for the bodybuilding where you've got the more of the overall muscular development.
Yeah.
It's been interesting to see how classics really evolved over recent times.
Classic is that honestly was my favourite
Do
category.
you feel like it's the future?
I think like there's a big future in it. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And I think because in ICN we don't do the routines anymore, and a lot of federations aren't doing routines anymore just because of the time factor.
Okay.
So I think that kind of brings that routine element back in a sort of a sneaky way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because for me, like like most people, my introduction to weight training or bodybuilding was watching Pumping Iron, or at least came along very early in the weight lifting journey, and you kind of look back at those physiques of that time, and that seemingly epitomised the optimal male physique at that point, and to see where bodybuilding went and how it was extrapolated to the mass monster era of the 90s, and then to see that there was still, although it wasn't being shown, there was this real hunger to see those classic physiques on stage and to see those guys. But even now, those guys seemingly in the last 3 seasons have just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger.
I think that's the really sad thing. I mean, back in my day, we were lucky enough. We had Lee Haney, Dorian Yates, Sean Ray come and do guest posing at the local shows. I mean, how cool would that be? And so I'm lucky to have seen them. But who does guest poses these days?
Yeah, they don't want to be seen in off season.
No.
400 pounds and no tan.
Just a white blob.
It's a blob.
It's just a blob
with eyeballs.
And what's your take on those guys that just let it all go out in the off season and like for a sport that does at its root has that health ethic attached to it?
Do you really think it has a health ethic?
I think that most people that go to a gym to train do so because they think that's more healthy than not training.
And I 100% agree with that.
And then you kind of push through that, and there's at the extreme end of the spectrum, men's open bodybuilding.
Look, I think
it's almost the fish eating its own tail. Like it comes all the way around. Yeah. And so you got those guys, and they're how do you feel that represents the sport that you've essentially given your life to?
Well, I think it's like anything. I mean, you look at, say, there's so many people swimming for fitness, but you've got someone like Ian Thorpe who once he retired, or who was the other guy? Jeff Hugel.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jeff,
I think it's just a progression. If you're going to compete at a high level, it's probably really hard to keep everything under to that norm.
Yeah.
So I think also too, not that that's a balance thing, but I do think you need an off season to get some balance. I think these people that live the lifestyle on 12 months of the year and take their Tupperware containers everywhere, that's not normal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's hard.
That's not normal. Like, there's living the lifestyle, sure, but you've got to enjoy life as well. And I think that's one of the problems that I'd say girls would have probably more so than boys. Boys probably do as well, but I think it's trying to find that balance. And I think if they find balance, then they probably would last in the sport a lot longer. I think it's hard to keep living that extreme for 12 months, even if you're not, or 2 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And has that been the secret to your ongoing passion for the sport, do you think?
I really think it did help me when I was competing. And because, as soon as I came off comp prep, I went back to normal. I went out with my friends. I did normal things. I wouldn't take Tupperware containers everywhere and, stuff like that, because I think you need that balance.
Yeah,
mentally as well as physically.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't have wanted the opportunity to go away without asking, but how alarming do you feel it is, the recent spate of deaths in the bodybuilding community that seemingly have just popped up? It seems quite unusual and out of the blue.
It is pretty scary, but what is it? I think that's the underlying factor. You don't really know what it is. I mean, we've even had cricketers.
Cricketers, exactly, yeah.
It's just a real...
Sports people right across the board. I was just on YouTube the other day, and almost every time you jump on there is another RIP, so-and-so, young and older, but seemingly indiscriminate in a way that we weren't seeing a few years ago. It's a tragedy that it seems to be impacting a lot of strength sports in particular, and people that have that are in that space, young and old.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's a very very scary thing.
Yeah,
for sure, absolutely. Yeah, what you were saying before with the mentality side of things, that people, I see this a lot with people that do compete, and this might contribute to the fact that only 5% return. I think it when they're competing and they're dieting and they're getting towards a show and they're getting a lot of positive feedback from people that are surrounding them and saying, "Oh, well, you're doing good. You're looking great. You're looking amazing.
You're going to win. You're going to win. You're definitely going to win."
Yeah. And there's all this positive like attention, which people are trying to encourage somebody, and they might be genuine in what they're saying and saying, "Hey, we want you to do well, and you're looking great." And then the competition happens, and whether they won or whether they came last, it doesn't matter. But it's after that when you go back to normal, like a normal healthy eating routine, and you are going to put body fat back on, you are going to go back to a normal level of health, and you don't get any of the like positive attention that you were getting. And I see a lot of people sort of spiral out from there because it's like, oh, everyone was like really appreciative.
Like the dysmorphia.
And I'm not what I was on competition show. Like I'm not 3% body fat. And it's like, yeah, you're not, that's not a normal thing to do and to hold on to.
And I think that's where the social media part plays a lot, in fact, because I mean, when I competed, you didn't know who you were going to be up against on the day. You might have heard whispers. Yeah. But you really didn't know until you rocked up on the day. That's when you knew who you were competing against. Whereas these days, posing classes, everyone knows who's competing. Everyone's talking everyone's pictures on social media. And I think it kind of sets up a really high extreme of failure in a way because, you're trying to achieve, you've put all your pictures up on Instagram looking amazing. And then when you go back to normal, it's just like, oh, I don't want to post any pictures. No, and I think that's kind of it a bit like sort of what you're saying as well.
That emotional roller coaster that's also attached. And
Yeah.
When you should be feeling really happy because now you all of a sudden can eat again. And you go, oh, no.
Yeah,
I don't like looking normal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but normal might still be like
amazing,
great health and look awesome. And it's like, but if you're comparing yourself to the way you looked on stage, where you did a 16-week prep, to get to that point. And you
had your tan, you had makeup,
and the right angles and lighting and everything like this. Like, oh, I don't look like that anymore. It's like, yeah, but you were that for like a few hours.
2 minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the future of bodybuilding here in Australia and around the world? Do you think it's more categories to accommodate more physique types, or do you think
what more categories could we add?
That's what I'm wondering.
The Dave Stockbridge category.
There's got to be one for middle-aged
smooth criminal category.
That's the best smooth criminal.
Yeah. I would enter
Instead
that.
of most muscular, we'll put that.
I bet more people would turn up for that. I'm here for the smooth criminal round.
I really don't want to see any more categories, to be honest.
No more categories?
Look, I don't think we need them.
Less categories. We got the right amount of categories.
Categories that fight each other.
I think the categories are good because you've got the different balances, like, the small, medium, let's say small, medium, large. You've kind of got the bikini, the fitness and the figure. So you can fit in wherever you like. Yep. Same as the fitness, men's physique and the bodybuilding.
Open bodybuilding, yeah.
So I think it kind of works well. And I think if you start adding too many more categories, it just adds more confusion.
And as you were saying before, how some of these categories have kind of morphed over recent times, or the expectations around the categories have morphed. Do you see them changing dramatically from the template that's laid down now, or do you feel like these categories are now settling into what the ideal aesthetic should be, and that's likely to be?
I think the categories, I think they've settled, but I think you're always going to get those people that step in the wrong category.
Yeah, step in the wrong category, or people that might be in a category that because of their dominance in it, they get to kind of in some part dictate what's a good thing in those categories. A little bit like Dorian Yates might have done, where all of a sudden everybody wanted a massive back or
I must admit,
needed one to win.
I will say, like IFBB Bikini, because that's such a high standard, has probably upped ICN Bikini.
Right.
And that's where I think it's sort of that's progressed the bikini class, because I could probably pull out winners from 5 years ago and they could probably step on stage now and they probably wouldn't even place.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Because it's really progressed.
Wow. It's really amazing that the sport's kind of the progressing and the judging's iterating down to these really specific expectations that and how quickly the athletes can kind of meet that, and it's kind of amazing. It's amazing that these micro adjustments can be made in accommodation, because I can't imagine the girls are training any less now, or any more now, should I say, than say 5 years ago. But it's just how they fine tune themselves in preparation to best suit the criteria that you're after.
I think it's really tough too, because like there was one girl, I know she was mad as hell. She got feedback to make these adjustments, and she came back and made those adjustments, but she still didn't place. But the problem is everyone just was happy. Like, she did make improvements, but everyone that she was up against was just better.
Right.
So she was disappointed. She was, well, I did my feedback and I did it and da-da-da, and I still didn't win, and I can understand her frustration, but we can't control who she's up against.
No,
That's right.
The game moved on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I always say to people, like, if you're competing, it's not that you're actually competing against the other people on the stage. Because of the nature of the show, it's judged, it's an opinion by a table of judges. It's like, it's you versus you. Like, you're trying to get the best shape and trying to fit that category's description as best as you possibly can. That's all you have control over. As to whoever else is entering in the competition, that's not up to you. It shouldn't be part of your focus in terms of, oh, well, there's this guy or that's going to compete. It's like, so what? Like, you are doing this for you, and it's about, like, when you step on stage, did you put in 100% effort and do everything you could to reach your potential in this area? It's like, well, yes, I did. Well, you couldn't have done anything else. The result of the show really is irrelevant to the knowledge that you've put the time and effort in to get yourself to that point. So I think a lot of people will sort of go, oh, but this, and I came third, but it's like, how did you look on the day? How did you feel? Like, were you happy with your preparation? Like, do you think you'd do that again? Like, what did you think you could have done better? Those are the things that you can control. Those are the elements that are actually important, because somebody else winning or having a better physique was nothing to do with you. It's like, if you did everything you could and stepped on stage in the best condition that you could, if you posed correctly, if you did everything that was there, then that's you've
Best
done
you
your
can do.
job. Yeah.
But I think the problem is people forget it's a subjective sport.
Right.
And it's not like running a race. Like, if we were running a race and your time was this and your time was that and my time was this, well, on a good day I might be able to beat you or whatever. But, we know each other's times. But with this, it's such a subjective sport. So you can't go in and go, yeah, I'm going to win, I'm going to get my pro card. Because it just doesn't work like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And like you said, the judging table can be different year to year, season to season, even week to week, where, you might go in states and come second, and then the week later you go nationals and win. And it's like, well, there's different judges. So TV's playing. That's all right. So it does come down to that. But there's so many different elements. I just really hope that people that do compete, they do it for themselves, and like, don't do it for anyone else. Don't do it like, I'm going to go and win. You're not going to, like, don't go in thinking it's a competition. It's you versus you.
Yeah. I think that kind of it's a hard call, because I do agree with you, but then I think there's, like, lots of people go for the why. They go, like, they're doing it because it's their 40th birthday, or, it's a bucket list thing, or I want to wear a pretty bikini, I don't know.
Yeah.
And they so that's good, but they do need to have that competitive aspect. So I think it's finding that middle ground, that you've got to realise it is a competition, but don't go in expecting to win, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Should we wrap up?
Well, we can wrap up all right.
Yeah. I had one last question.
Go on.
If you've got time.
Yeah, go on.
This is something that's really always annoyed me, is people competing in the natural competitions that are not natural. How do you see it?
I don't even
think about it.
Can I say that on? Can I swear? Oh, look, I totally disagree with it. I mean, look, if there's enough, let's say, druggy shows, if you want to compete in a druggy show,
every other show,
go compete in it. And I think it's really disrespectful to natural athletes. Like, they've gone up there trying to do their best, and
can you see, and you think, oh, hang on, that's off, that's out, that's not quite.
Well, we kind of look at things and go, that's not quite right, but obviously we can't assume.
Yeah. But if it's outside of the aesthetic and it's creating a disproportionate physique, and you have a suspicion,
they will normally get drug tested.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. We do have drug testers with ICN, so they will get drug tested. Normally, overall winners, anyone that we think's questionable, we will get them drug tested.
You just refer them and go from there.
Yeah.
So really, if it's if it is it's really important placing, or it's it's something that leads to perhaps a competitor moving to the next level or going to nationals or heading to worlds as a result, then those people are definitely getting vetted. It's just that there might be some that make their way into from time to time. But do you see that as being a problem from a natural perspective? Is that something that we've still got to remain really vigilant about?
I think we do. I think, to keep people honest. And, I think it's just important for the sport. I really do. Like I said, if you want to go do gear and stuff, that's not my thing. But if you want to do it, I'm not going to judge you for it. Yeah. But stay in your own lane.
You're not going to judge them. Exactly.
Stay in your own lane.
They will not be allowed to compete. Yeah.
And I think it's just unfortunate. I mean, I don't know how these people sleep at night.
Yeah. What sort of pride could you take in winning a competition that's designed for people who are natural? And if you're not natural, it's like, I won. It's like, but you cheated, dude.
Yeah. I know.
It's like, did you win in the other one? You could have gone in the other one.
Yeah. But they probably, and you know what? Right. They probably wouldn't have won in the other one.
Exactly. That's why they're going in the
It's been really interesting, say, like in Aussie Rules football more recently, and swimming has certainly had its challenges with trans athletes, and doesn't seem to be an issue in bodybuilding. Not in men's open. Not in men's open
Not
anyway.
Yet.
Yeah. Oh, I wonder what's going to happen there.
Not yet.
I don't think it ever will be in men's open a problem. But with female, is that something that's on the radar? Is that something that
I know a coach in Adelaide did have a request from someone in Germany to coach them, and they were trans, and they wanted to do a bikini, but the person didn't take it on just because. Partly, I guess, because it's in Germany and stuff like that. I guess it was going to be too hard. But I know some people have been approached about it. I just don't know how to go. I don't even know how you judge that.
Yeah, that's strange. That's, wow. Yeah, a bridge you'd have to cross when it comes to, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Looking forward to that. Maybe I'll retire that week.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll wrap it up there. But thank you again for coming into the show.
Thank you for asking me. I've had a great time. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we appreciate it. So it is the Daily Combat Podcast, and Esther Pedistic, and
he didn't want to say.
I didn't want to say. I did get there in the end. I don't know if it was right, but and on Instagram it's Stage 1 Posing.
Correct.
Olympic Muscle and Fitness in Ranella.
Yeah.
And you run the posing classes every Sunday.
Yep, Sunday, and we normally run them 12 weeks before the show, but I obviously do one-on-ones all year through. So, I always suggest as a competitor, come have a few one-on-ones with whichever coach. Obviously, choose me. But if you don't choose me, that's okay. But, always going to have probably about 4 one-on-ones where we can really tweak and make the posing suit you and your physique, and then join group.
Right.
That way, and group classes is a great opportunity, to meet like-minded people, but more importantly, stand next to other competitors. Because when you stand in the mirror at the group fitness room and wherever, and you're just training on your own, you've got all this room. But on stage, you're more like this. So it's a good opportunity to get to stand next to other people.
If I want to refine my smooth criminal, can I just come along?
Just call me, man. I'll do it for you for free.
One-on-ones? Excellent.
Okay, thank you again, everybody. Daily Combat Podcast, Hollywood Matt Connolly, Dave Stockbridge, and Esther Pedistic. All right.